Nobody really knows who Emily Austin is, other than the fact that she's a radical Zionist. She gets invited to the White House and has had an Epstein binder. She knows nothing, and they just keep putting her in front of a camera. Alan Dershowitz tries to help gangsters and human traffickers get away with their crimes like Epstein. It's very clear Israel is behind it.
I am a Riva, and I was taught how to pray Salah.
That means every single time I pray,
the person who told me gets the reward.
5 times a day, from Fajr to Isha.
If you want to support someone like me in learning Salah,
then sponsor 10 people for just £100.
remember the Prophet, peace be upon him, said,
Charity does not decrease wealth. Click the button and donate now.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. If you're watching this video and it's Salah time, please pause it and go pray and come back when you're done. Please check out the description section of this video to support the channel. It seems Candace Owens is going at everybody over the Epstein cover-up, in particular the radical Zionists that have infiltrated American media, politics and the justice system. Candace took aim at Emily Austin and Alan Dershowitz, implying that they are in on the Epstein cover-up on behalf of Israel, in order to hide the fact that the Israeli government had hired Epstein to blackmail US politicians to do their bidding after they had been caught on camera doing depraved acts with minors. Let's watch the first clip where Candace clowns Emily for her part in the Epstein cover-up.
And what is most compelling to me, by the way, about the Trump filibuster is that it requires us to be so gaslit that we completely forget that nobody made more of a show of the Jeffrey Epstein files and the release of those files than the person sitting to the right of him, Pam Bondi. That's why we're here. Pam Bondi was the one who notoriously handed out binders to a bunch of online influencers on February 27th. Look at this influencer. Cute pic. Just me with the binder. See that? It says in red print, in case you can't see it, the Epstein Files, Phase 1. And ironically, when we took a look at some of those individuals, they were very new to the influencing scene. That girl with the cute pic, Emily Austin, nobody really knows who Emily Austin is, other than the fact that she's a radical Zionist that is currently being shoved down our mouths. They're like, you will take her, and they're desperately trying to make this girl happen. And somehow, at the beginning of her influencing career, she gets invited to the White House and has had an Epstein binder, okay? And then she makes, a very influencing video about having that binder. Let's take a listen to it.
I saw y'all on the internet coming from Cash Patel saying he's day 5 and we haven't gotten Epstein files. Well, I'm here outside the West Wing, and look at what we got today. The Epstein files, baby. Let's make America safe again.
And then when people pointed out the fact that this felt extraordinarily staged, also noticing that nobody there had been critical of Israel, I don't know, kind of a big thing that we want to see if we really feel like we're going to get to the heart of what's going on with Epstein, then people were accused of just being jealous that they weren't invited to Pam Bondi's binder party. And like I said, strangely, not a single individual there had been critical of Israel in any way. But somehow this young woman, Emily Austin, who virtually no one had heard of, was there. And I want to be clear, when I say like the level of Zionist that this girl is, and they are trying to make like fetch happen, she knows nothing, and they just keep putting her in front of a camera. Like she recently went on Piers Morgan and had a debate with Scott Horton, who you should not debate unless you know what you are talking about. But she was just out there to defend Israel's actions bombing Iran, right? And they just put her up on stage. You're like, here, you're like a cute conservative. Just go up against Scott Horton and say things good about Israel. She did not even know who the leader of Iran was. Take a listen to this clip. It's actually hilarious.
He keeps saying that Iran's not a threat to America. So since Scott decided to become Iran's mouthpiece, can you please clarify for me what Khomeini means when he says death to America, death to the West, and forceful conversions? Can you translate in the language that you so clearly understand that all of us are missing? Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So first of all, Khomeini died in 1989. You don't know what you're talking about. Second of all, the chant, you'll notice, all of y'all in the audience and on the panel notice.
I just wanted to show that. That is just absolutely, it's amazing. It's amazing.
As Candace said, Emily Austin is a radical Israel First Zionist who was hired along with a bunch of other sellout influencers to pose in photos as if they were going to out their fellow radical Israel First Zionist, Jeffrey Epstein. And since Trump and his team have now denied the very existence of these files, which they said existed a few months ago, Emily has not said a word about the matter. The correct position to take would be to call it out, but as they say, silence is consent. But what else can we expect from Emily when she makes excuses for her fellow Zionists in the Israeli government as to why they're justified in committing genocide against women and children? As Candace stated, anyone claiming that they are against what Epstein did whilst at the same time still shilling for Israel is a complete fraud and a hypocrite due to Epstein also working for the Israeli government. I share Candace's views that Emily does not have a clue when it comes to geopolitics and that she should stick to sports supports journalism. But I get it, Israel is getting desperate and will literally get behind any airhead bimbo as long as she pushes their disgusting supremacist propaganda. And yes, it was hilarious to see Emily be made a fool of by Scott Horton on Piers Morgan's show on the topic of Iran and Israel because she had no idea what she was talking about. Let's watch the next clip where Candace humiliates Alan Dershowitz, who was not only friends with Benjamin Netanyahu and Jeffrey Epstein, but also defended Epstein and tried to help him get away with his crimes against children.
Jeffrey Epstein was given an office at Harvard University. And I want to make it clear, this was after he was convicted of sexual crimes against minors. And do you want to know who else was working at Harvard at that time, was working perhaps alongside him? Alan Dershowitz. He was one of the lawyers that was on Epstein's team that got him that reduced sentence for his crimes against minors in 2008. They have their lawyers, Alan Dershowitz, obviously, because they need someone when their guy does something wrong, like Jeffrey Epstein, to be able to represent him, to fight for these people that have clemency and pardons. They have their politicians. Obviously, we know what AIPAC is doing. They are controlling those politicians once they're in office. They have their journalists, same thing, fake credentials, schools that they send them to. They have their banksters who are committing the white-collar crimes, right? When billions of dollars goes missing and nobody's held accountable, and then swoops in Alan Dershowitz, nothing to see over here, right? They have their doctors. They have their teachers teaching us the history that is being wiped before our eyes. And then, of course, there is a military and a police strand of this. They have these fake people in Hollywood. They're all connected. They control all of the information that we are getting. And yeah, I would say Dershowitz is pretty obviously one of these matrix lawyers. And I want to be clear when I'm referring to this American matrix that's been created, it's very clear Israel is behind it. If you need more proof that Alan Dershowitz might have an interest or some other allegiance, and I can say that here because it's not Harvard University. You know, Trump's administration is making it illegal to say on Harvard University's campus. You want to be able to discuss Jeffrey Epstein on Harvard University's campus without being kicked out because they're running a whole cell there. They changed the definition of anti-Semitism. Yeah, it's pretty clear we've got some Israel firsters with a lot of power in our government. And it's not just the Epstein case that Dershowitz was involved in. Him, just like Epstein from Brooklyn. Despite him, Dershowitz, being adamantly anti-Trump in 2016, he was somehow able to weasel his way back into the decision-making of who Trump was going to grant clemency to at the end of his first term. And you're not going to believe there's a common denominator in terms of who Alan Dershowitz tries to help get away with their crimes, like Epstein. Do you know who else Alan Dershowitz tried to and failed to get Donald Trump to grant clemency to, a preemptive pardon to? Ghislaine Maxwell. Yeah, here's a headline in the London Times, Sunday Times. Alan Dershowitz asked Donald Trump to grant Ghislaine Maxwell a preemptive pardon. I don't know, guys. It just seems like Alan Dershowitz has a theme here. And what sort of banksters and gangsters and human traffickers he's trying to help out here. Why are people falling over themselves to protect Jeffrey Epstein? Because he is something of a linchpin to this matrix.
As Candace said, Harvard University, a place where pro-Palestinian student protesters are currently being arrested for speaking against a genocide, hired Jeffrey Epstein and gave him an office there after he was convicted of sexual crimes against minors, where he worked alongside Alan Dershowitz. Let's put that in context. Harvard University, under orders from the US government, and the US government under orders from Israeli lobbyists, do not allow anyone to talk about Israel killing kids in Gaza. But what they do allow is Zionist Mossad agents to work there after they sexually exploit children. I guess they're right when they say the Western higher education system is a total scam. And not only a scam, in this instance, it looks like a government crime syndicate. Alan Dershowitz was not only Epstein's lawyer, he worked with him and even hung out with him, making visits to his residence. So next time Piers Morgan wants to defend his pal Dershowitz when he's being ridiculed in a debate for his association with Epstein as if he was only involved in a legal capacity, remember to bring this point up. As Candace stated, Dershowitz even tried to get Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, who is currently serving a 20-year sentence, off the hook via Donald Trump, who is also supposedly one of the people named on the list. Candace was 100% right when she said all of these people are connected, from lawyers like Alan Dershowitz to journalists like Emily Austin to politicians like Trump and Netanyahu to Mossad agents like Epstein to entertainers, educators, bankers, doctors, law enforcement, the military, and even organised criminals. And as she said, the common denominator here is Israel. And this is why they're not releasing the files, because it basically exposes a whole operation and everyone involved with it. It's been reported that the night Epstein supposedly took his own life, that a full minute of prison security footage is missing, raising suspicions that the whole thing was staged by replacing him with a lookalike. And the fact that millions of dollars were still moving from Epstein's bank accounts after his supposed death only fuels suspicions further that he's still alive and operating under a new identity. The very same people involved in this cover-up will try to convince you that Islam and non-Muslims are the issue, when clearly radical Zionism is causing all the major problems in our modern world. Thank you for watching. Make sure to join my free Telegram group via the link in the description. And remember to like, subscribe and become a channel member for access to exclusive content. Until next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah.